This is Greg Vincent reporting for AgWeb from the 2010 Top Producer Frontier Study Tour. The tour kicked off in Panama City, Panama with a visit to the world-famous Panama Canal. We started with a briefing from Mike Steenhoek of the Soy Transportation Coalition, who explained the challenges of the U.S. infrastructure and what it could mean to the future of exports moving through the canal. From there, the 16-person delegation visited the canal, where we met with the management and saw the operations up close and personal. I had the opportunity to sit down with 3 of the delegation members and discuss their thoughts on the expansion projects and the potential it holds for U.S. soybean and grain exports.
Well, I was really impressed with the canal itself, how it's been currently maintained, but all the more so that they're in the process of a major expansion project that's scheduled to be completed in 2014. And due to the fact that the largest vessels that currently transit our oceans are too big for the current Panama Canal locks, the Panama Canal Authority, the government of Panama, decided to upgrade the system by creating a new third channel with larger locks. And it just really underscored the fact that the government of Panama really understands how transportation infrastructure plays a role in the health of their economy. And I just certainly wish that the United States would kind of revisit that mindset and that perspective and invest more adequately in ours.
Okay. Bob, I know you had some thoughts on the overall canal management itself, the people you met.
Well, we certainly did. I was very impressed. It's a well-managed group. I think it's very wise when the United States turned over the canal to the Panamanians. They took 20 years to do that, and that was very important. It allowed them to understand how to run the canal. And as we visited with the leadership of the country as well as our own ag attaché, we saw that they're very much in tune with not only what's going on today, but they're really looking forward to the future and what they need to be really a mover of all of our products in the far future as well as the current future.
Okay, Mark, taking off a little bit on what Bob just talked about with the Panamanian government seeing the value in what they have there and investing in it. There's been a lot of discussion among the group of our own government and how we might handle something like that.
The budget is $5.2 billion, and I believe after meeting with management that they're going to come in on time and under budget. I wish our government could do the same thing, and I agree with Bob that I wish we would start paying more attention to our locks and dams, in my case on the Mississippi. As a farmer from northeast Iowa, some of my grain does occasionally go down the Mississippi, and I believe that we're going to need every competitive edge we can have in the future. We have this wonderful infrastructure that was built by our grandparents and with a lot of foresight 75 years ago, and we've put nothing back into it. The sacrifices made by farmers and taxpayers in the 30s are being let to deteriorate. It's a sad state of affairs, and we need to address it. We've approved the WRDA bill for rebuilding our locks and dams, as well as a lot of extensive environmental projects. Let's fund it now and get moving. The rest of the world, these small countries that don't necessarily have our respect, are able to get a job done. Why can't we?
Bob, and you talked a lot about China and the impact that the Chinese market has on us. When you look at the expansion project, how do you feel about our future for exports?
Well, certainly we at the Soybean Checkoff wanted to go and take a look because we realized China is by far our number one customer, and the majority of those beans do go down the Mississippi River and then through the Panama Canal. So we, as your Soybean Checkoff, wanted to be very comfortable that the Panama Canal was well run and beans would continue to move not only to China, but Southeast Asia is another huge market for our soybeans. Sure, some of the beans up in the Northwest do go by rail out to the West Coast and to China, but if we're going to stay competitive with our South American friends who also export soybeans, we need to make sure that the Panama Canal is a very safe, efficient way to move soybeans. I believe they said currently about $2 a ton goes to the expense of moving through the canal. Seems like a pretty small price to pay for keeping us competitive.
Mike, let's take it back up to the U.S. real quick and talk about what Mark just talked about. What kind of progress are we making, and how far away are we from really being successful in getting the upgrades of the locks and dams on the river?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, our entire logistics chain is in dire need of repair, and that starts from our inadequate farm-to-market system, our rural roads and bridges, to our highways. Certainly there's some problems with railroads, but it also, as you suggested, that also is manifest with our locks and dams. And one of the concerns that I had in visiting the Panama Canal, I was impressed with the fact that they are expanding it and they are doing a very good job at that expansion project. But my concern is, in the effort of alleviating that bottleneck that currently exists with the Panama Canal, are we simply shifting that bottleneck to our shores, to our port system, and yes, even upriver to our locks and dams? And so our entire logistics system, from the farm to the dinner plate, is only as strong as our weakest link. And right now, I think with the Panama Canal being expanded, that weakest link is more and more our lock and dam system. And as Mark mentioned, the Water Resources Development Act, Congress has approved that, but just because something has been authorized, just because Congress has established a blueprint for funding our locks and dams, that doesn't necessarily mean checks are actually being written. That doesn't mean that projects are now underway. And so it's all the more incumbent upon farmers to be engaged in this. It impacts their profitability. And so farmers need to look at transportation similar as they look at increased yields and increased market opportunities for their ultimate profitability.
All right, we're here in Mato Grosso in Cuiabá, the heart of Brazil soybean production. We'll be back with some more information on Brazil in just a minute.